Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, the official coaches show of Saluki Athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by our friends at Pagliai of Carbondale. Always great to be joined by head coach Scott Nagy as the Salukis coming off a win at Austin Peay over the weekend in Clarksville and get ready to host High Point this weekend. High Point's got a game tonight against Carolina in non-Division I before they make their way over to Carbondale on Saturday. Coach, appreciate the time as always, and like we talked about on Saturday, anytime you can go on the road and find a way to win, even though for all of us, there are ways you look at that game and go, shouldn't have been that close towards the end, but, man, getting a win is huge on the road.
Yeah, any win, but winning on the road, you know, it makes bus trips a lot of fun. And, you know, somebody asked me after the game who I thought played well, like who played well, and I went through my mind, and I couldn't think of a guy that played well. And so I think there's a lot of room, which is good. You can win a game and everybody not play well. But, yeah, we should have, you know, free throws and a couple bad turnovers late, things like that we've got to get cleaned up. We had the same thing going on in the Southern Indiana game too, which, you know, we should have put away and we didn't. And that's how we lost the Louisiana Tech game. We were ahead. And so these are the things we've got to start to get cleaned up. When we have leads, we need to push them out.
One of the areas, though, for your group that seemed to appear to definitely improve, and maybe not even so much improve, Coach, but it's that factor of that you've been hitting out with me, Luke, we need carryover. We need carryover within practice. We need carryover into games. When you were able to go back and further watch film, Coach Nagy, how would you assess the ball pressure and how your ball pressure seems to be improving, not just in your games but also day-to-day practice?
Yeah, we've been working on the perfect possessions and if we're not getting it, then we stop it, which means guys are talking. We have ball pressure. We're not giving up baseline drive, all those things, and I do think that's getting better. I think our communication's getting better, and then we did have good ball pressure, which was you know, for us it just is it helps everybody else when we have pressure on the ball.
Of course, look, there's so many analytics, and you and I have had conversations about which ones you really kind of go to, which ones you value. I do enjoy looking at Ken Palm and seeing, you know, necessarily in started games and looking how he breaks games down in the quarters. And for your last two games, getting off to better starts. Do you sense your team have been able to get off to better starts, or still kind of a frustration for you?
I thought we got a terrible start at Austin Peay. We talked about taking care of the basketball early. We knew they would be emotional, home game, you know, and they had the big kid. We didn't know he was coming back. We weren't sure. But then they didn't play Thomas. And I think they're probably better offensively because their focus becomes more throwing the ball in to Witt than it does, you know, shooting jump shots. And we had, let's face it, we couldn't guard him.
Yeah.
25 points, 10 rebounds, and he just beat us up, and they just went to him. But we talked about not, you know, early we got to take care of the ball. So, I mean, we go down our first, I think, 6 possessions. We had 4 turnovers, and we had 4 turnovers at the first time out. Now, you know, after that we took good care of it because we only had 5 turnovers at halftime. So, but it still was not a good start for us, and so that has to get cleaned up.
The spurtiness, and if that's even a word, I think I created my own word, but when you look at your turnovers, have you seen that commonality with the games this year, Coach Nagy? It's not so much that's been a common theme throughout a game. It's just those segments of games that really your group's got to clean. They come in bunches when they do come.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it I don't know in terms of the turnovers. But I do think when teams fight back and things aren't going well, you know, we haven't done a good job of getting ourselves calmed down, getting into our offense. So we struggled the whole night to get in. You know, we tried to put in just some new things, and we struggled the entire night just to be in. I don't even know what we were in, really, in terms of offense. I don't know even how we scored because we couldn't really get to what we wanted to run, and so we just ended up playing. Which, quite frankly, is what I would like to do in terms of our motion, that you just learn to play, but it's too many options for some of the guys, and so I think it freezes them up. But we couldn't get into what we've been working on, and so it was a mess offensively. Now, we had 1 point per possession. I think there were 65 possessions, and they had 60. So really what won the game for us was our defense, even though you wouldn't think so because we fouled a lot. They shot a lot of free throws. We struggled to stop that big kid. But they only shot 39%. They had more turnovers than we did, and, I think that our defense won us the game.
You've said over times in so many interviews that we have done and just in your style throughout the years, you're not a guy that's going to be much of a yeller and screamer on the sideline in terms of always on officials. When you get in the games, there's going to be good calls, there's going to be bad calls, there's going to be calls that go your way and not. When you went back and you watched the film, how much of a concern was the fouls in terms of, hey, we got to quit fouling versus, there's going to be some there thrown in there maybe a little bit ticky-tack.
I didn't even think about the officials really at all in that game. I thought they did a great job. When I did get heated, they came over and talked. They weren't offended by me being fired up. I thought those guys did a great job, and so any of the fouls were our fault and not theirs.
Yeah, and those are areas you hit on within your practice with your guys constantly, whether it's one of your assistants, whoever makes a call, you're like, hey, get over it. Move along. Those are things that quickly you guys address on a daily basis within your practice.
I've never seen a call change, so it doesn't help, and it really only hinders our team because officials are human, and if you tick them off, not that they purposefully, but there's that human factor of you don't need them upset with you because it could be them not purposefully not giving you a call or giving you a call, but there's that human nature portion of it, and so players should spend no time talking to the officials, in my opinion, and I'm the only one that should be talking to them.
You have gone through your team in terms of the communication piece, and you've always talked about, hey, I need to be better in terms of my emotion, how I share on a sideline. I want to bring up a point towards the end of the first half. I know it was a frustration for the group, but I remember seeing Damien Mayo come over to you and be, Coach, we're good.
Yeah.
Coach, we're good. What do you enjoy most about this team? Not so much just Damien, but that you have built that within your group, that the guys will also pick you up. It's not just the other way around.
Yeah, I really like our kids, and I'm okay with them communicating with me and letting me know when they're frustrated, and that I can live with. And I know that there are times because I've been frustrated this year, particularly with our offense, just not being able. I'm just used to things flowing much easier, and it's been a struggle. And so my frustration spills over sometimes, and I did get after somebody right at halftime, and Mayo was trying to smooth that over. Mayo's one of those guys that just kind of likes everything copacetic, like he doesn't want anybody upset, and he's kind of the dad on the team. He takes care of everybody else, and but I'm okay with that. I really am, and I do enjoy our guys. I think they compete well. They get after each other in practice. This has been a very enjoyable team for me to be around.
It's easy to overvalue some things, Coach, because there's so much available to fans, the guys like me, where you can dive in and go and look at every possible way around a team. But one of the areas with your group, when you look at your data, regardless where you get it from, KenPom, Synergy, etc., you've gone against really good competition. When you look at your team, you're saying, okay, here is what we have, whether it's going really detailed in numbers or analytics, that there's not any fool's gold, I feel like, in your numbers, Coach Nagy, because of the caliber of teams you've played to this point. Do you agree with that and feel that way with your team?
No, I agree with that, and I think you said somebody said last week we were fourth in the league in defensive efficiency, and I think with the schedule we played, that's it's pretty good. Now in league, obviously we've played one in league game, and our defensive efficiency was awful. But overall, we played an incredibly difficult schedule, and so I do like where our defense is. I mean, it can always get better, and I think that it is getting better. Our offense is what has to change. We've just got to get more out of it, and we need to be able to just get out and run a little bit more. I think we have to concentrate on trying to get points in transition because we struggle in the half court a little bit.
I said this story countless times. I don't want to repeat it for a millionth time, but you told your guys countless times in the summer, look, guys, our team a year ago was so much fun to watch offensively, but, man, we were not where we need to be defensively. I could care less how good we were offensively. We're going to be a good defensive team. So in saying that, are you – I don't want to put a word in your mouth or characterize any other way, but what do you make of that your efficiency numbers from points per possession to overall, that your defensive numbers are better than your offensive numbers right now?
Well, I'm happy with that. I am. I just find myself, it's just been so many years where we've had really good offense that I'm not used to this, and so I get frustrated with it. And it's good for me. I mean, it forces me to coach more than just allow the guys to play. So I have to coach more, I have to think through the game better, where we can get people. So, I think it's good for me. Even though it frustrates me, but I do like that that we're athletic, we're long, and we can switch a lot of spots. And if we could be good at one thing, it would be that defense. It would be the defense.
There's always areas where you want to recruit high IQ guys, Coach, and bring guys in that know the game. But what do you do from a program standpoint day to day to not just help teach IQ, but enhance that IQ basketball-wise? What are things within your program that you really value to give kind of Saluki fans a day-to-day perspective of what you try to set your days up, whether practices, et cetera, of this is where, hey, this is a basketball IQ time to try to enhance it and really learn the game?
Well, there's, the players come in and do a lot of film work with the coach and staff and see, so they can see, one, how hard they're playing, two, cuts, and just even defensively where you should be. If you're not on the ball and a guy turns his back, when you can go, so that it just helps them. The film work is really important with it. It just helps them see it and understand it, and we're getting better, particularly on the defensive end with that, being in the right position. And firing on the ball when we have an opportunity. Because I always tell our guys I don't want to coach robots. I'm just not interested in that. I want to coach guys that can go make plays that weren't designed to be made. And so that could be a back cut. Like, we're trying to run a play, we're trying to run a set, and the defense that we're playing, you just go make a cut, and it's not what the set was designed to do. But you're also not being a robot. I don't like robots. I like players, and so that's what we've just been trying to get across to them is it's okay. You don't have to do exactly what we tell you to do all the time. I would rather you be an instinctive player than we have to tell you what to do all the time. Like, just go be a good basketball player.
What have you found to be a common barrier for a player of getting through that? And what I mean, Coach, of getting from, being a robot to just being a player.
Well, there's certain personalities, like people that are pleasers, that they want to, that doesn't necessarily fit me very well. I don't want guys that are pleasers. I want guys that if they're going to make a mistake, it would be aggressive. Like, it's okay to make a mistake as long as you're aggressive. What ends up happening if you're a pleaser is it keeps you from being aggressive because you don't want to make any mistakes, and so you're always playing careful. And you can't be a good basketball player and play careful. You just can't do that. And whether it's the offensive end or the defensive end, I need guys that I could get after them about taking a shot, and the next time down the floor they take the shot again because they're not trying to please me. They're trying to be a basketball player. Those are the kind of guys I really like to coach that can deal with me and aren't, if I get after them, they don't care. The next shot they're going to take. It's the guys that are always worried about what I think and that struggle, I think, sometimes with what we're doing. I need guys that can actually hear what I'm saying, not internalize it thinking that it's personal, and the next time down the floor they have so much confidence that they'll do what they think they should do.
Obviously, a guy like Sheridan Sharp, his role has changed as the years gone along. How much value has he been able to get from minutes where you said, hey, we're going to play him, and you have?
Yeah, now he's starting. He, in my opinion, he's playing a little bit too careful. I'd like to see him turn it up a little bit. He just doesn't want to make any mistakes, and it's hard to play that way, and it's hard to make plays for other people. and so I would like to see him use his ability a little bit more and quit trying to. This is what we talked about. Quit trying to please me so much and just go be a basketball player. And if I pull you aside and talk to you, and there's a difference between, the emotions of practice in a game versus me talking to you in my office or me pulling you off the side and saying, this is what I really want. I need you to hear this. Some of the things I say, it has to be able to go in one ear and out the other. But for Sherm, and I've talked to him, after the Awesome P game, I think he just is a little too careful. And I want him to just go be a basketball player and get it turned up a little bit and don't be so worried about pleasing me.
One of your best finishers at the rim in terms of your post players, no doubt, is Jorge. He's had to get that conditioning fixed. Now, where do you see Jorge at in the mix of one? His conditioning seems to be much better. Now it's more the demands you want from him defensively when he's out there.
And it's normal. He's not playing with a ton of confidence. You see him in practice. He's a lot different player than he is on the floor in a game because he hasn't played much for us, and so he doesn't have the confidence that I see in practice. That would be one. The other thing is with some of our post players, we're able to switch more. With Jorge, it's a little bit more difficult to do. And so it depends a lot more so on our matchups and what we have going on versus, if we got a big burly kid that he can go against and not switch, then that's more of an opportunity for us to play him. But the one thing I give Jorge credit for is he is not pouted. I see him in there getting extra work. I see him in a weight room, and I've been very pleased with that. And I tell our guys this all the time, quite frankly, that's going to carry a lot farther in life than whether or not you're a good basketball player and how many minutes you play.
Coach, I know you got a game on Saturday before officially it's the Christmas holiday and give the guys a little bit of time to break. But anytime you go to the holiday season, it gives you a good time to reflect and what we're all thankful for. And I remember you talking to the team down around Thanksgiving when we were down there in Florida for the Gulf Coast Showcase. You said how much this team has meant to you, how much this program has meant to you, but also the investment from the fans and how much they care about Saluki basketball, how that's really meant a ton to you. As you do get to this time, I know your mode's on the game right now, brother. I don't want you to take your mind off of that. But just how much do you reflect on the appreciation of where you're at and just how much interest there is into what your team is doing on a day-to-day basis, not just game-to-game basis. Every day people are wondering what's going on with your program.
They are, but I think they're also being – the people I've talked to, have been incredibly patient. It almost bothers me sometimes. I wish they were less patient. I wish they expected more out of us. Because that's where we want to be, but I think some patience is required. It's helping me see it from their eyes, because I'm not very patient, but I'm thankful for that. People continue to show up and have been very positive, and I really do. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed coaching this basketball team, and we come in here on Monday. It's 5 days before a game, and it's Christmas break, and the guys, want to go home. And, we had a great practice. I was blown away by it. I really was. I was blown away how good a practice we had yesterday. And one team just absolutely blew the other team out the whole day, and they talked trash and had fun, but played hard. And, the other team was like, hey, it's the same teams tomorrow. And we did. And the other team came back and won today. And so there's a lot of good competition in practice. It's healthy. But the guys are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm smiling and laughing in practice, and so it's just been a really good group of kids coaching. I think we're getting better. Like I really, my sense is that we're starting to gel as a basketball team, and what I saw in the Awesome P game, guys that are starting on the bench, and we're getting a shot clock violation, and they're up and cheering, and we hadn't seen those things earlier, and now we're starting to see the guys really pulling for each other. So I'm excited about where it could go.
And I don't know if that's something you chart, Coach, but it appeared to me from our angle in that game that you almost forced as many shot clock violations in that game against P that maybe you did all year.
But it just tells you how much our guys were into it, even though we wouldn't say offensively we played great. our guys were they were into it, and they were pulling for each other, and it really felt like probably the first time that it was just more of a team victory than any other game that we played.
Well, let's get the high point. I'll get you out of here on this note. They play a game tonight against a non-Division I opponent, but, man, they have been so darn good. Only 2 losses so far this year. Both of them were competitive games with Missouri State within the Valley, who, of course, we'll see later on, than UNCG, which is a rivalry game there in the Greensboro area. What impresses you about High Point, especially for them? One of the areas you brought up with your group today, after how Austin Peay went, they're good at getting to the free throw line, and I know that's going to be a focus for you guys on Saturday.
I haven't even seen any of their stuff yet. I'll start watching it today,
Okay.
but I have looked at some of the stats, and I know they're top 25 in the country in free throw rate.
Yes.
And that was a big problem for us last game. When you look at how we started the second half, first 10 points were free throws. So we're going to have to guard these guys without fouling. They play at a good pace. I know that he came from Greg McDermott's, tree,
Yep.
and I know a lot about Greg. I've been competing against him for years. So, I just haven't looked a lot at it. My biggest concern with the game is not so much the game as I like to play on the road during this time more so than being at home, because everybody's coming with their bags packed because everybody has plans to leave after the game.
Yeah.
And, can we keep their brains, their hearts, all that stuff here, because they're excited about going home, and I get that. But it's why I've always liked to play on the road during this time, because the kids know even when the game's over, they can't just take off. And we get on the road, it feels like you against the world, and so there's a different feel than when you're playing at home in this time. So that's my biggest concern, is just keeping our guys' brains and hearts here until the game's over.
Coach, appreciate the time as always. Again, we're going to be on a break the next 2 weeks from the show, but we'll have plenty of chance to catch up over the holiday, of course, with all the games going on in between. Appreciate it, and let's close it out here in the non-con with a strong one here on Saturday in Banterra.
All right, thanks.
Once again, that was head coach Scott Nagy. Join us here on the show. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Damien Mayo. This is Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. Welcome back, everybody, to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by our friends at Pagliai of Carbondale. Big thanks to head coach Scott Nagy, who just stopped by. And, look, everyone loves to hear from the head coach, but now everybody really loves to hear from Damien Mayo, who joins us now here on the program. Mayo, good to see you, brother. I'm sure for you guys, oh, man, those locker rooms got to be fun like you had on Saturday against Austin Peay on the road, to find a way to grit out a road win. Just those environments, when you're able to have that with your team to celebrate, how special are those moments?
You got to take them in and celebrate. And getting a win itself is hard, and getting a road win is 2 times as hard. You know what I'm saying? You don't have the energy of like the fans, the crowd, the home, the momentum already coming into the game. So to go to Austin P and grit out a win, it was big for us. It's something that we needed, and we could celebrate after the game, but next day we locked in on us, and then the next game. So it was a good win for us, but we trying to stay focused, maintain a winning mentality, so we ain't celebrate that much.
What's really neat for me, Damien, is I've seen you guys from when you first got here as a summer, first time you all got together to now.
Yes, sir.
How would you assess the last 2 weeks of practice in terms of the best 2-week stretch you've had since June? Do you feel it's been that way as a player?
For me, I feel like we're getting more accustomed to what we're looking for. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's a whole bunch of new guys, a whole bunch of new coaches. In the beginning, it's like we don't know what our identity was. So throughout the first part of our, basketball stand, we were trying to find ourselves. And these past two upcoming weeks, we've been finding ourselves. We've been getting into a little rhythm, and these have been the best 2 weeks coming up. So I'm just happy we in our groove right now, and we just got to keep building off of it.
There's that competitive edge that you always want, no question, when you get in the games, but you need it in practice. Where have you tried to continue to bring that with this group, and how has this group gotten better in that area, Damien, of, you know what, it's okay if we're mad at each other from time to time when we go up against each other in practice?
The biggest thing is what translates in practice translates on the court. So if we practice like we're not competitive, we're practicing like we're lackadaisical and all of this, it's going to translate on the court, and I feel like we've seen it at times. So these past few practices, past few weeks, we've been practicing with a mindset of kill the other side. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who the opponent is. We supposed to dominate, and with that mindset, now it's night and day difference between practices. You know what I mean? It's been fun. It's been competitive. We've been on each other necks, but at the end of the day, it's just basketball. Whatever happens between those four lines happens between those four lines. Whenever we step off, we're brothers again. So we learning how to take constructive criticism. We learning how to take a little bit of chirping back and forth. So it's us growing as a team and molding into what we need to be.
One of the most common things I could see from Damien Mayo, I'd say, hey, we're good, throughout a practice. But what stood out to me, too, and I brought this up with Coach Nagy, was, the end of the first half wasn't great at Austin P in terms of execution, and Coach was, of course, heated. And you're right, Coach, we're good, man. Like, we're good. Like, you came up and you picked him up, but you had that relationship to him where there's some players, Damien, that wouldn't even come close to wanting to do that. But what is it about the respect factor that you and Coach have? But it's not just you and him, but with the team that, hey, you're not just there to pick up your teammates, you're there to pick up him too.
Yeah, what I say is, obviously, this is a team sport, coaches included. Like, they're a part of the team. The players are the ones that make the team, but the coaches are the ones that guide the team. You know what I'm saying? So for him and me having that type of relationship where I can come to him and get on him, he can come to me and get on me, it's just the type of relationship we have. And he's talked to me and I've talked to him. We had conversations, and when he say he get out of line and he needs somebody to put him back in line, I'll be there. I'll be the one to step up, because at the end of the day, somebody got to do it. And as far as the team, it's just us learning each other, how each respond to the type of criticism they can take. Not everybody can be yelled at. Not everybody can be, pity-patted around. So it's just us growing, us learning each other, and just building relationships.
How would you assess how your year has gone, Damien, and the progression for you?
For me, coming into it, I was really, really, really high. I had high hopes. Coming out, I feel like it's been hard on me. I feel like I can just get this team way much more than I've been producing. And just talking with the team and talking with the coaches, they've been able to help me, keep me in a positive mindset. But as these past 2 weeks, I've been happy, you know what I'm saying? Been happy with the progress, been very, very, they say not to look too deep in the future. But, for me, I feel like the sky's the limit for us. I feel like we're growing every single day, meshing every single day. So I feel like I'm in a good spot.
In today's day and age, Damien, there's so much analytical data that you can put value on whatever you want to put value on. And you can get caught up in what your analytics say about you. And you should, in a way, because that's going to help you navigate where you need to improve. But what do you always go back on, Damien? Whether good game, bad game, could play better, could whatever, played at your best. What do you always go back on to go, these are my cores that I know I need to stick to that will really guide me to be, if I need to be critical, I'll be critical. Or I'd be like, hey, you did what you needed to do that day, to be proud about it and really carry on from that standpoint.
First and foremost, the first thing is, did we win? That's what matters at the end of the day. It don't matter how I perform, if I play good, bad, terrible, great, did we win? If we won, at the end of the day, we got a dub. We can go back and talk about it. And if we lost, it's just how did I play? What type of teammate was I? And did I bring or take away energy from the bench? And it's basically, I can control the things I can control. That's my energy, effort, and the way I respond to things. And if I was poor at doing one of those three things, then I have to go back and reflect on it myself. But if I came out with the right energy, right effort, and the right response to the things happening throughout the game, I feel like obviously if we didn't win, it's a bad result. But everything else is pretty much out of my control, and I'll be proud of myself, win, lose, or draw with that.
To carry off of that point, and it's not to say that Saturday at Austin Peay was perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, there's many things that you can pick at, and I know you guys have in terms of film session with Coach, and et cetera, to improve. But just watching you guys play, Damien, it just felt different, in a good type of different. You know,
I feel
defensively, whether you want to use the term identity, whatever the phrase is, could you just sense that it felt different on Saturday? And now the key is to maintain it and build off of it.
Yeah. I felt that it was different Saturday. I felt like we was really turned up defensively, and I just feel like we trusted each other. We played hard, and we just played hard without trying to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And then when we did make mistakes, we forgave each other. Like, we had energy on the bench. We had everybody talking. It was a good outing. And what was your second question again?
Well, it's just more of, to continue to build off of that, Damien, and your role within that. And it's just trying to maintain it and how difficult that is, because you guys have just been so good at a time of year where a lot of teams get flat. It's almost kind of been the inverse for you guys.
For us, it's just making sure we just get better one day at a time. It's like we're not looking too deep into the future. We're maintaining what we need to fix one day at a time. We're watching film on what we need to watch film on, and we're making sure we keep the mindset of being a championship-level team.
Look, everyone goes through the peaks and the valleys of a season, and not just literally the valley of the Missouri Valley Conference that you guys are going to get back into. But when you look at maybe things when were much of a frustration, such as the Bradley game, Eastern Kentucky come to mind, how have you guys looked at that in a constructive way, Damien, and said, hey, we want to make sure that when you see Southern Illinois and High Point, that's not anywhere in terms of a resemblance of what we've seen previously for you guys?
Every game is a learning experience. Obviously, we ain't get the results we wanted with Bradley and a couple other games, but it helped us grow. You know what I'm saying? So, like, each game we can see what we need to work on. We can see what hasn't worked, and we can adjust off of it and grow as a team, grow together. And I feel like even though we didn't get the results we wanted, every game we play, we learn from it, we can grow from it, and I feel like we just become a better team from it.
The numbers show, Damien, I mean, right now, the strength of schedule, it's the only team in the league right now that's played a top 100 non-conference strength of schedule. And I bring all those things on, but throughout the summer, when you're going through practices, I think everyone has a good idea of what will be a strength, what are things you need to work on. And then depending on your schedule, sometimes there can be a little bit of fool's gold in there, depending on who you play. Not with you guys. Have you tried to balance that, too, going through the non-conference of knowing, Florida, darn good. That team top 10 in the country. But, like, that these teams have been able to amplify things that you need to get better at. But there's the other side of it. It's also shown what you guys have been really good at here in the non-conference.
Yes, sir. I feel like with the strength of schedule, it could be, like, a double-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're such a new team. We can say, oh, yeah, strength of schedule. We're just learning. We're coming together. But at the same time, we want to win games. Like, what I would say is early on we might have taken for granted our strength of schedule. We might not have like really been locked in, but as time went on and we got smacked in our mouth, like we understood how fast this can change and how much this means to all of us. So right now we don't really care who's in front of us. We just want to, lock in and make sure we're ready for that game at that time. So I believe I can see how strength of schedule can play into it, but at the end of the day, I just feel like we want to go out and win games.
No doubt. I know Saluki Nation will want you guys to do that starting on Saturday.
Yes,
but, of course, you got a game here before the holiday break. I know you were able, being a St. Louis boy, not being too far away from home, spend some time with family. But what are you most just thankful for just about this team, being around this program, Damien? And not to say you haven't been a part of a program like this, but where there's so much investment, like I described with Coach Nagy, of what people care about this program day to day. It's not just when it's game day. I mean, it's constant. I mean, what's it been like to be a part of that?
The biggest thing for me is and the biggest change is just the support, like the support around. And usually I'm used to just having a team behind my back. All we need is the locker room, but at SIU it's literally everybody. I'm talking about from you got people that's coming to every practice every day just to watch, and then it's to the janitors, what I'm saying, helping us turn on the lights when we come in, saying what's up every day, having relationships. And for me, that's the biggest thing, is building relationships, because at the end of the day, the ball will stop bouncing, and it's really about the people the friends you made along the way and the people you can talk to down the road. So that's what I say is the biggest difference for me coming to SIU.
Look, I don't want to bring this up. It could be a sour point for this individual, but I saw Rollins today tried to go with the headband look. Did you approve of it? I mean, I was kind of giving him a little bit of a hard time. I don't know if Rilo can rock the headband look.
I feel like he just picked the wrong headband. It was just too skinny. He needed a bigger headband to cover everything up, but. Hey, he was hooping with it today, so he came out, popped 2 threes. Maybe he do need to wear the headband. So
he may need to carry that over to the game, and I'm sure Rilo have always saying exactly. He's like he wants to carry that over.
Yeah, that's my guy, but it's a no for me, man. I'm gonna tell him take it off.
I would tell him to, but you know what? It's just an extra thing that I can describe on the radio come Saturday.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Damien, before we let you go, just I know this is kind of an obvious question on your way out, but. Knowing the energy has been so good, knowing you guys feel probably the best you've ever felt at this point, how crucial is it to just make sure come Saturday when you guys do go your separate ways to head home for a few days for the holidays that it's after a win?
It's big for us. It's imperative. That's all we're talking about is staying locked in, because we had a conversation, and basically what it was is coach is like when we're going on the road for holidays, because the home team is usually the sleeper team. So we're the home team this time, so we're in their shoes. So we just have to make sure we're locked in, and it'll be big for us to get this win, and that's the result we're looking for.
No doubt, Damien Mayo. Damien, appreciate the time, man, and looking forward to watching you guys play on Saturday and close out the non-conference portion of the schedule before we get into Valley play, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Once again, that was Damien Mayo. Join us here on Inside Saluki Athletics. When we come back, Larry Larson will have our women's basketball show here on Inside Saluki Athletics, starting with Sequoia Allmond. This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale.
All right, we're back on Inside Saluki Athletics, now joined by senior guard Sequoia Allmond, senior from Memphis. And Koya, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start on the individual side. It's been somewhat of a tough go for the team over these last 2 games, but, you battled injuries these last 2 years, missed the end of last season, missed a few games at the start of this season. How does it feel for you to just be back in the flow of things?
Honestly, it's a blessing. Every time I step on the court, I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to play again, because I know what my past been like. the having all these injuries and dealing with it on the mental and physical aspect. So every time I step on the court, I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to do it again.
And, you talk about the physical and the mental aspect. Just
Yeah.
what does it take? I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of basketball as, much of a physical sport. Obviously, there's running involved, but there's so much that goes into it prep-wise,
Yes.
especially when you've dealt with injuries in the past. Kind of walk me through that routine for you.
My routine honestly is different depending on how my body feels on the day. But I know for sure it always consists of like rehab and treatment, because as much as I exert on the court, at the age I'm getting with the injuries I'm dealing with, I have to make sure I put as much time into treatment and rehab. And I'll be honest, I've just now started prioritizing like those things because I realize how important it is. But it does take a lot, and it takes more physicality when you're hurt, because you have to be intentional and really pay attention to what works for your body.
Totally. Flipping over to the leadership side of things, you're one of 3 seniors on this team that is really young, really green. Even some players outside of the freshmen just haven't played much NCAA basketball. So walk me through your leadership role specifically with the guards, because there are a lot of freshman guards with this.
Yes. Well, I understand like it could be a lot of pressure. So I'm not the leader that's gonna try to like continue to bark at you. I kind of want to just uplift you and like help you instill that confidence and find a joy with the game and just being in the environment in general. Like, so of course when I can help them, I might say, hey, try this or do this. But other than that, I try to just make sure like they stay in good spirits and still enjoy the game and being able to be on the college basketball team.
It's an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah.
With Alice Kerman, player who carried a lot of the load when you were on the sidelines, just how much improvement have you seen from her?
I've seen one thing I can say, she's been a lot more receptive. She's been a learner and just, being willing to take the advice that we're trying to give her. I commend her because as a freshman, she's took on a lot and she's so tough. But I think I definitely see her growth as she's developing the 1 and 2 position.
With your individual game, I think when I watch you on the court, I'm always seeing pass first. You're always looking to pass, but also in that North Texas game, you filled it up, career high 15 points. How do you strike a balance between the passing and the distribution game and the scoring game when you can do both?
Well, I've always been a pass first guard. I take pride in being a point guard. Not a point guard, but a point guard. But now I really enjoy passing because, like, just in life in general, I feel like when people around you are happy and enjoying it as well, then it makes everything better. So I enjoy passing, and I'm a creator, so that goes into it on and off the court. I love to create. So it's like when I make a move, somebody else steps, I'm like, oh, okay, I can make a nice pass. Like, I would honestly rather have maybe 10 to 15 assists over 10 to 15 points. But I know if I need to score, I can do that.
Your passing abilities a lot of the time are so unique, so next level. When did you start picking up that, okay, I think my passing ability might be able to take me to Division I basketball?
Honestly, ever since I first started basketball, I've always been a pretty good passer, and I think it just comes from my IQ and reading the defense and knowing. But that's just something my passing and my dribbling abilities is something I've never doubted and always knew I had.
No doubt. Turning towards the rest of the schedule here, just one more non-conference game. That's hard to believe. UAB coming to town next Sunday. How important is that game, wins and losses aside, just to make a little progress and some steps forward?
I feel this game is just as important as any game. It's something to build off, and hopefully, I'm hoping we get the win, but win or not, I hope we take something from it that we can carry over into conference.
Just how much of a step forward in terms of competition do things take when it comes to conference play?
Wait, could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you're good. So when it comes to conference play, just how much of a step do things take forward in terms of competition? Describe that extra gear it takes to win in the Valley.
Just one, consistency and discipline. Heart. It takes everything you got for real. Every game is a tough game. It's no night where you just like, oh, we got this. It's like every night you got to come ready to play, prepared. 'Cause it could be anybody's game.
looking forward to conference play.
Mhm.
Now that you've been through one schedule of conference play, whether
Yeah.
that was on the sidelines or on the
Yeah.
court, you saw what it took.
Mhm.
What does this group need to do in order to take that next step forward in conference play?
I think as a unit, we need to learn how to take and face adversity. Like, I know individually, as you have some veterans and more experience, adversity is going to hit, but you just bounce back and keep going. So I think as a unit, we need to learn how to finish out games and just, if we get hit, know that we're going to punch back. And, every game, like going into conference, it's going to be a dogfight every night. So we got to be ready to battle. Like, I think that's the biggest thing for us to, as a unit, as one, to all be ready to battle.
With you individually after basketball, I know I've heard you're looking at getting into media. What does that look like for you? I know it takes some time to figure out what exactly you want to do, but kind of what are your next steps?
Well, I don't have a full blueprint, but I mean, as far as media, I wouldn't mind being into like social media marketing. I'm actually in a digital animations class, so like if it's graphics or anything like that in front of the camera, behind the camera, really anything in media, I kind of got my hands in. So whichever one I get the opportunity in first, like I'll take. So.
Hey, there's a lot out there for you. So, hey, if you're a Carbondale company listening in, hey, you could have somebody on the staff. Back to basketball. One last question for you here. Biggest goal for the rest of the season? Obviously, senior year. You want to go out on a high note. What are you kind of looking for?
Honestly, to remain healthy, and each game just get 1% better. Like I try not to think too far ahead, but each game I want to do something better every game, and hopefully those build on top of each other. And by the end of the year, I leave my mark.
Well, Sequoia, best of luck with that, and
Thank,
we'll talk to you again on Sunday coming up when the UAB comes to town. Appreciate your time.
thank you. I appreciate you.
We got more coming up next on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. We're back on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, now joined by the only player in the Missouri Valley Conference to average a double-double up until this point of the season. It's Gift Uchenna, forward from Saluki Women's Basketball. Gift, really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Let's start with that double-double stat. You poured in another one in that loss at SIUE on Sunday. But, being the only player to average a double-double, what does that mean to you?
Averaging double-double is in the MVC is such a great honor for me. I mean, it's not my first time averaging double-double. In Taiwan, I averaged double-double in my whole games, like almost all my games in the season. It shows um, dedication, hard work, and it motivates me to keep pushing and going, and helping me to contribute in my team's success.
You've had a double-double more times than not so far this season, so you're checking that goal off at least so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how much more comfortable do you feel on the floor now than you did right when you started, way back in that first game at Auburn?
I feel significantly comfortable on the courts now compared to how I started the game, like compared to how the season started, because now I get to understand the game. I'm now familiar with the game strategy, and the physicality of the game in the US now.
Now, with that, and I know we've talked about it in prior interviews and just in conversation, just how different is the United States game versus the game where you came from and started your collegiate career over in Asia?
The US game is more of fast-paced physicality, individual athleticism. In Taiwan, it's also fast-paced, but the physicality is not as much as the US. Yeah. In Taiwan, I was almost the tallest there. like, let me say second to the tallest, or the tallest. So the physicality wasn't much. But when I came to the US, it was another ball game. I mean, I prepared for it. I have always wanted high level basketball, so it wasn't something that I did not prepare for. I knew the physicality of the US game is going to be, really, really hard. But that's always been my dream to play here.
And with your improvements on the court, you've improved taking that physicality. Where do you think you've improved the most so far this season?
I believe I've improved on my defensive skills. Like, I've worked hard on my footwork and positioning, and it has made me more um, effective defender.
No doubt. And with your backstory, it's a unique story. Born in Nigeria, played your high school ball in Japan, played college ball in Taiwan. Let's dive into that a little bit. When did you first move from Nigeria?
I moved from Nigeria to Japan when I was 15 years old. Living in Asia has been a great experience for me. It has made me learn different cultures, and different perspectives. Even though it wasn't easy because of the language barrier at first, but I've adapted, and it was a great experience living in Asia.
Now, between languages you spoke back home in Nigeria, the languages you spoke in Taiwan and Japan, and now English, how many languages do you speak?
I'll say I speak English. I'm going to measure it according to how I speak it. Where I speak English, I speak Japanese, I speak Igbo, that's my tribal language. I speak Japanese more than my tribal language. I don't know, but that is not nice, but it is what it is.
So,
And I understand a little bit of Chinese, a little bit.
okay, sure. So which was the hardest to learn?
Chinese. I mean, I didn't even learn it because the effort that I put in learning Japanese when I first traveled out, I didn't want to put any more effort in learning other people's languages because it was too much.
Yeah. And a lot of people say English is the toughest to learn, but I think you also hear Chinese a lot. Is the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, English is my first language in Nigeria. Not like my first language, but a general language in Nigeria. So it wasn't hard for me to learn, even though I really cannot speak English very fluently. But I know I understand English, and anywhere I go, I can survive as long as the country is speaking English. But in Japan, I spoke Japanese the whole of 3 years I stayed in Japan. I spoke Japanese. I learned Japanese every single day. So I did not want to put such effort in learning other people's language again. So that is why I'm so grateful that I'm in America and there's no language barrier.
Making that move from Asia into America, and we talk about the basketball aspect of it. Why did you feel like now was the right time for you to jump into college ball in America?
I mean, it's God's timing. I tried few years before to come to the US. I just feel like God prepared me to come at this time. I don't know, but I've always wanted to come, so maybe this is the time God prepared for me to come. So God has the answer.
Hey, it's worked out pretty darn well so far. Now, looking ahead, only one non-conference game left. Hard to believe. And then it's conference play. Time to play, the likes of Drake, the likes of you and I, but Valpo first up on the schedule. But with conference as a whole, how excited are you to get that first taste of conference play?
I am really, really excited. I mean, non-conference has prepared us for the conference game, and I'm so ready for it. I'm just excited about it.
And good reason to be. You've had a successful season so far. Gift, really appreciate your time, and best of luck on Sunday. UAB coming to town. Tip off at noon. We'll see you then, Gift. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have more Inside Saluki Athletics presented by Pagliai of Carbondale.
This has been Inside Saluki Athletics presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.